Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast for howtoraiseanawesomekid.com. Today is February 6th. That's not when you're going to hear this, though. I'll probably put up in a few days. And this is Justin, and here with me is Eric.
Hey.
Eric, how you doing, man?
Great. You can fix that date in post.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I'm just going to... I was thinking about it, and I was listening to him, and I was like, you know, if somebody's going to listen to this years from now, which maybe one day our kids will dig this up out of the time capsule that we buried in, it would be nice probably to have a date on it. So I'll start saying the dates. Why not?
It'd be nice, but I wanted a lot of things when I was a kid. I wanted a Soundwave transformer. I didn't get it.
I wanted a Megatron transformer. I didn't get it. Actually, I did get it.
Man, Megatron was
almost
jank.
kicked
He was
out of
all
school.
kind of... Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
They thought it was a gun? Stupid
It
school.
literally looked exactly like I think it was like a Luger.
Yeah, which is strange because the actual transformer version of it didn't look anything like a robot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the worst robot version of a transformer probably ever.
Yeah, that was. I don't know what they were thinking with Transformers. I mean, they actually for a while there they were making anything. It was anything that then also was a robot. Now it's like they're pretty strictly just cars, and I think for a while there were monkeys maybe. But
I had the Galvatron.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember Galvatron from the movie?
Which one is that?
The animated movie. He was voiced by Leonard Nimoy. Come on, not the Michael Bay movie.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no. I'm talking about which one was he? Would it describe what he looked like?
Kind of like metal.
Oh, he's made out of metal. Okay, I got it. I know which one you're talking about.
He was purple and.
Was he a good guy or a bad guy?
He was a bad guy. He was voiced by Leonard Nimoy. He was I can't remember if he was like the replacement Megatron or if he's what Orson Welles turned Megatron into. But anyway, his toy was pretty awesome. I mean, he turned into this big, awesome laser gun kind of thing, as well as a laser tank, just in case the laser gun wasn't big enough to do the job.
Yeah, I think when that stuff happened, I had already shifted to being obsessed about the Nintendo. So I wasn't really paying attention much to Transformers anymore. I don't know.
All right.
Because I mean that's what happened, right? They came out with the Transformers movies and they killed off a bunch of characters, which meant that you had to buy new toys, right?
I thought it was just poor decision making. I didn't know that there was a toy buying ulterior motive.
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah, that was the whole point. It was you because everybody already had like their the main guys. So if you can't really convince kids, they already have like the best ones. They already have the main guys. So the only thing you could do is just convince the kids to get like all their little sidekicks. And so the movie comes along and kills off all the main guys. So now it's like, all right, I got to go buy a whole new set of.
That's a very cynical view of the cartoon that was designed as a commercial.
No, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened. But yeah, you might be right. It might have just been a poor decision to me. I don't know. So what's up with your kids?
Not too much. My son is nursing a black eye. It's kind of healing up nicely. He was in a fight on the bus last Friday.
Wait a second. Your son's your son. You're talking about the 5-year-old, of course.
Yeah, the 5-year-old, not the baby.
Not the baby. So what happened? What are the details?
All right. So he gets on the bus around 8:00. I get to work around 8:00. Right around 8:30. I get a call from the school nurse saying there's an incident on the bus and Julian got hit in the face and there's some swelling, but he's okay. I'm like, okay, he's okay. Builds character. And I think I've mentioned before, my wife watches a couple of first graders in the morning, a couple of 6-year-olds. And so a little later that morning, my wife gets a call from their mom saying, can Julian maybe tell me what happened? I got a call from the school that Caleb punched some kid on the bus and gave him a black eye. So my wife says, funny story about that. Yeah, that was, Julian probably knows what happened because he was the punchee.
Oh, so when you first heard from the nurse, did you just think like some object had hit your kid and that was it? Or like...
No, I mean, it was...
Because if she said like, oh, he got hit and that was... Yeah.
I mean, he got into it with some kid, but I'd probably be, my parenting skills would be questioned if I asked, did he win? I'd have to find out those details once he got home. But
but who? I mean, do you really win when they're 5 years old? Yeah,
What?
I think I was I don't know, 5 or 6, the first time I remember getting a black eye, and it was kind of the same deal. I think it was on the school bus on the way to school, and immediately kind of treated it with ice, and I just basically kept ice on it all day. By the
Yeah.
time I got home, it was almost gone. I could almost hide it, but no, my mom found out. I definitely
Well,
remember
we
that.
did
But I mean, but that wasn't even. I don't. That wasn't a fight situation. Like I don't remember. You remember what fights were like in middle school and high school? Like, those
vaguely.
are fights.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
our school, it was like WrestleMania, almost like every other day. So I mean, there was constantly fights. So they were memorable, and yeah, it's not to me. It's not a fight when you're 5 or 6. It was just I don't know. I don't even know what you call that because what are you even fighting about?
Well, Ashley talked about getting Julian, something nice because he didn't hit the kid back because he is bigger than these 6-year-olds. He could have flattened them.
Yeah,
But I kind of had mixed emotions about that. I mean, my advice for going into public school is punch the first kid that looks at you funny, and that way,
it's just like prison.
you get some respect. Yeah, just like prison, because that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
how does a kid even? I mean, that's the thing. Like, how does a kid even? How does a kid even get their fist to have that much momentum? Like it's a kid. It's 5 or 6 years old. How do they? I don't
they
even know.
flail
I don't even know.
around.
Where do they
if
learn
you hit
that
them in the
stuff? Where do
right
you think they
place.
learn it? Yeah,
Probably from, I don't know, cartoons, violent video games,
violent video games, the punching games.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
So what's the story? What did you have? So did you have a talk with them about it, or was it just kind of a non-event?
Well, I mean, what's there to talk about? We're glad it was somebody that he knows and he generally gets along with rather than a random bully.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I guess I should be glad he didn't flatten the kid.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying though. I don't even know if I don't even know if it's like really an anger thing at that point. Like I don't think it's a you hit me, so I'm going to hit you back type of thing. I don't know. I don't remember the time being angry or being like hurt or anything about it. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, this kid punched me.
Yeah, it should
It's
just be about respect.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Well,
I don't know.
How's,
It's good for him that he was nice. I hope being nice doesn't end up biting him at some point.
yeah, I mean, you definitely. I would strive towards teaching your kid to turn the other cheek.
Yeah, he ain't
However,
gonna get the girls that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say. However, it's
Hey,
you have
baby,
to stand up for yourself.
I got punched
Yeah,
by a smaller kid, and he gave me this black eye, and I didn't hit him back. You want to go to the dance?
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm stuck. I got in a few fights like in middle school, and bus stop fights and that type of thing. And I don't know what to tell my kids as far as avoiding them. I mean, I got in fights where you fought, and I got in fights where I didn't fight back, and I turned the other
Yeah.
cheek, and just none of them ended up working out well for anybody. So
My
at
my
least not for
freshman
me.
freshman year of high school, I punched a kid in the head, but to be fair, he had a really big head.
Like as in you were throwing a punch, and all of a sudden his head showed up, or was it aimed near
Well, I
his
mean,
head?
I'm just saying it would have been pretty hard to miss.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, so you're saying your philosophy on this is just kind of take it as it comes, or eventually, if it escalates, you think you're going to have a talk with him about defending himself.
I think in general, my feeling is I'm not really sure what he should do in this case. I know when I was a kid, I never got into fights. I mean, really,
Yeah.
there's that. Apart from that kid I punched in the head, that was the closest I ever got to a scrap. And I don't think I want him to take the same path where physically I was probably bigger than a lot of the other kids, but I wouldn't say I wasn't really bullied any more than anybody else was, but I probably put up with more crap than I needed to.
Well, I
So
mean,
I'm not-
you are below the Mason-Dixon line now. You're living in Virginia, so people watch wrestling, people watch mixed martial arts. There is going to be, like this more of a culture of fighting that happens. It's I never, I mean, aside from that weird incident when I was a kid, I didn't ever have like fight issues until I moved down to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it really became like prevalent, and that was
Well, they're kind of
like I
known
said,
for that.
yeah, people were
They
fighting
started
all
the
time
Civil
everywhere.
War.
That's true. They are fighters. So, well, let's take.
Orville, you took my cornbread. Put up your dukes.
Yeah, hopefully we never have to talk about this again.
Oh, no.
But
I know what state
get the
we're
feeling
least
like
popular
maybe-
in.
What's that?
I know what state we're least popular in now.
Yeah, that's okay with me. I don't think they understand what a podcast is anyway.
They might secede from the podcast.
So, let's. How about your youngest? Anything new?
He's crawling. He was sick all weekend. He had a fever. There's almost enough to get us to take him to the doctor, but we backed down from that because, I mean, he's a kid. He gets sick.
Yeah, nothing's too new with my son. My wife decided to have a dance party with him today, so she put on
Awesome.
I think Wolf Mother. I think.
Okay.
I think it was instigated because all right. So I got a bunch of sunglasses. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I got some sunglasses, and so my kid is pretty addicted to putting them on. So he puts on his sunglasses all the time whenever he can find them. And so my wife thought that was the greatest, and so it was time to crank up some music and have a dance party. Sure. And he was very willing to play along. He was like up on the coffee table, like kind of doing like this little jig, river dance type of thing, shuffling his feet and bouncing up and down.
Okay.
So that's pretty cute, yeah. So they were doing that, and I've been hard at work. I've been working on a couple projects, so I haven't really had too much time, at least today, to be a good dad. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sunglasses came from this weekend. We had a little bit of like retail therapy. Went out and just bought stuff. Do you know what people like? You know how people knot their socks and pair their socks and that type of stuff?
I think so.
Have you ever done anything like that? Like paired your socks?
I pair my running socks.
You pair your running socks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people that do that, they do that because they don't have all their socks that are exactly the same. So that's what I did this weekend. I went out and bought a bunch of socks.
All right.
And then threw out all my socks. And now all my socks are the same sock. I'm talking about white socks, not talking about dark socks. So yeah, all my socks are the same socks. Don't have to ever pair them or find a match ever again.
I bet you had a headache on Monday morning.
Yeah. What?
After such a hard living weekend.
Yeah, and then we went to the dollar store, and I've been complaining for a long time about getting a pizza cutter, and nobody ever thinks about the dollar store, but that is an awesome place. You can get pizza cutters there for $1. And they had two different kinds, so I bought two. I bought one of each. It's like survival of the fittest. We're gonna see which one lasts. Cool. And then I buy sunglasses there. I bought a whole bunch of sunglasses because like I don't want to spend money on sunglasses because I'm gonna lose them or break them. So that was it.
You're in great shape, man. You were set.
That's right. Hey, I registered for the bridge run in Charleston.
Oh,
coming up in about 2 months. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to do it. It's 10K. We already got a beach house and everything. So.
Oh, okay, cool. We'll talk about that. That might be fun. We got
room. So you and I were talking earlier today.
We were.
A lot of times I get texts out of the blue from you that are just like very random. Just all of a sudden, there's lots of whatever. I don't know. There's lots of different subjects. All of a sudden, you're bombarding me with.
Yeah. Let me take this here for a little bit. I was a little surprised at your reaction. A new podcast I've been listening to a lot is the Nerd Poker podcast over on the Earwolf Network.
Okay.
And in that podcast, you got Brian Posehn and some other comedy writers who get together for a long-standing Dungeons and Dragons game, and they play it on mic.
Yeah, see, you had me up until Dungeons and Dragons. I was very excited about nerds playing poker. That sounds great. I'll watch that. I'll listen to that. I mean, that's great. But
I don't know how much fun that would be.
It's not nerds playing poker. Yeah, it's not nerds playing poker, is it?
It's not. It's nerds playing Dungeons and Dragons, which makes a much better radio show.
Okay, all right. So go ahead and take it away. Tell me why.
All right. So when I asked you if when I mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, maybe I can say it. You mentioned Dominion. That's kind of a collectible card game, except you don't have to collect the cards; they're already in the box. And it's just that's not quite it, man. Role playing games. Have you ever played like Dragon Warrior for Nintendo or anything? How about Fallout 3? You play Fallout 3?
Yes, I did play Fallout 3. That's a role playing game?
How much Fallout 3 did you play?
I played all the way to the end, and I went back and played it again.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's kind of a computer role playing game where I think in that game a lot more so than like the Japanese role playing games, which are whole other thing. you can almost see the mechanics. You've got these various skills. You've got strength. You've got intelligence, and then you've got these other attributes like small guns and speech and that kind of thing. And behind that game is essentially a lot of random number generators that are, telling you how successful you were at what you did, how much damage you did when you shot something, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Do you get a sense of that when you play the game at all?
Yeah. I feel like there's some sort of, randomness to that whole thing. That's, you were talking about XCOM, I think, a podcast or two ago, and I think that's kind of the same deal that's going on in that game. Is that it's, you attack somebody and it'll tell you up front, like, you have a 75% chance of hitting them and that type of thing, and then you go ahead and shoot, and then I guess it's kind of like rolling the dice, and it lets you know whether or not, how well you did.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole conceit of the role-playing game that's played at a tabletop is obviously there's no computers, and ideally you have several players around the table, and one player is specifically assigned as like the game master, who is telling the story of this game as these other people each play a character in the game. They make a character, has certain traits, certain personality that they can go to various degrees of acting out. Some people do the full get dressed up and go out in the park, but most people don't do that much, take that much trouble. And essentially, you just talk through.
Stop right there, because they get dressed and go out in the park and act it out.
That happens sometimes.
How does that work? Like, so they sit down and play their turn, like with all the whatever, the paper and the pen, and are there cards?
There's no cards.
Okay, so there's paper and a pen, and I'm guessing like a book or something like that. So there's a book and maybe a binder. I don't know. Sounds like something that would have like a binder. Maybe somebody's made notes and drawings or something. Does that sound?
Well, typically there's like a player's guide that you can read that so you can understand what to put into a character, what these different abilities that are available are in this game world. And I mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, but there's actually a whole bunch of these kinds of games.
Well, but what I'm saying though is, if you were going to dress up and go play this outside, do you play your turn with like the paper and the pens and the binder and then you stand up and run around, or
no? I think it's just more acting it out than
they're like reenacting,
just rolling stuff. And I never did that because I'm not. That's kind of a whole different level of nerd there.
Okay, well,
I'm not going to say this whole enterprise is not in serious nerd territory.
I was going to say
serious and there's serious nerd territory.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But anyway, you've got this game master who kind of takes the players through a story, and it can be a story that you can go to the store, you can buy modules for it that are already pre-written, already have the event set up and the bad guys and all that stuff, or you can just get creative and write one on your own. And one of the things that makes this podcast interesting is, you asked, are they good at playing the game? The answer is generally no, because the players, once you set them loose in this world, they're really good at going off the script and breaking whatever it is that you were working on. So that's kind of what makes it interesting. Even a game like Fallout 3, you're limited to what the game says you can do. But if you're actually around a table playing this, that's not really a limitation.
This is a good thing.
Sure.
Okay.
It can be a lot of fun. It's usually pretty time consuming. But as you're playing, as you're doing these things, say that you decide that you want to, I don't know, try to charm some waitress, then whoever is running the game master is going to ask you to roll for that, where you do a roll based on whatever traits apply to it and see if you're successful in doing so. It kind of introduces that chance.
Are you talking about a real waitress? Did you say waitress?
Yeah.
Like a waitress at a restaurant?
The game master may say, okay, your characters have, they're in this tavern, and here's the waitress coming up.
I thought you were suggesting like you go play this in a restaurant.
Do you think that would work? If you go play this in a restaurant and try to charm a waitress with dice?
I thought that's what you were. I don't know at this point how much of this is real or not. It's all Greek to me. So in the game there are waitresses that you charm using dice.
In the game, there are whatever the game master wants to put in the game.
Wow, that sounds like too much power.
It it can be. There are some game masters who it goes to their heads, and it becomes a competition of trying to kill off the players as quickly as they can. But for a good one, no, it's a lot of fun.
So you said it's time consuming. Are we talking like a game of Monopoly time consuming, or I'm just trying to find what would be, to me, the longest game in the world is a game of Monopoly. So I'm trying to think of something that would be longer than that.
Well, there's a few factors that work when you're playing this kind of game that make it time consuming. You can make a game of any length. Some people will play a campaign that will last years. Get together for 6 hours every weekend and play, and they're just going to keep getting together like that for a very long time. They could do like a shorter module that you could probably wrap safely in an afternoon. It can easily last as long as a game of Monopoly, but it's usually more entertaining, even with the new cat token.
Cat token.
Oh, you didn't see that? They got the new cat piece for Monopoly.
Oh, I thought that a cat. Yeah, I thought you had a cat token for Dungeons and Dragons. No, I didn't. I didn't hear about that. So yeah, but I did hear that they killed one off. Right? Did they replace
the iron, which is too bad.
I like the iron.
Yeah, they should have got rid of the shoe. Who wears a shoe like that? It's weird looking.
Everybody I play with always use the shoe. So I don't know.
Whatever happened to the guy on the horse?
Yeah, that's a good point. What did happen to the guy on the horse?
I don't know.
All right, so on a scale of like nerdy to super nerdy, just rank these for me. Like playing Dungeons and Dragons, or playing or doing fantasy football, or I'm trying to think of a third one. Reading a Star Wars novel, not a novelization of the movies. I'm talking about the extended universe of Star Wars. So rank those from least nerdy to most nerdy.
I'm going to go with level of social acceptability as kind of a definition of nerdy here, because they're all pretty nerdy. But it is far more socially acceptable to be fantasy football nerdy, I think.
That's true.
That's pretty commonplace. The next ones get tougher. I'm thinking it is possible to be a normal person and play D&D. I can't really think of a normal person I've seen reading a Star Wars novel recently. So, there you go.
Okay. Well, I should say somewhere in there, like just playing any video game that isn't Madden or Call of Duty. Is that would you say I'm guessing that's probably closer to like fantasy football, but you think that's more nerdy or less nerdy than fantasy football?
What, playing the other games? Like
playing any other video game except for Madden and Call of Duty?
Probably more nerdy than fantasy football.
Wow. All right. Wow.
And probably less. It depends on the whole D&D thing.
What is fantasy football more nerdy than? That can't be that can't.
Yeah, well, I mean, talking about social acceptability, it's pretty well accepted at this point. I mean, grown-ups play it. Squares play it.
How about I
your
guess
dad
the lottery
plays it?
Which is less socially acceptable, playing scratch-off cards or playing fantasy football?
You don't play scratch-off cards. You scratch-off cards.
Whatever. So, which one's less socially acceptable?
Beats me. I haven't seen a lot of scratch-off cards playing. I don't really have a stereotype to stick with that.
Well, all right. So they didn't sell those they don't sell those in your state?
They sell them, but I don't know if I've ever actually witnessed one being purchased.
You should come on down to the Deep South, man. There are people who they purchase a stack and they will then proceed to either step aside and scratch them all off there at the counter, or they will go out to their car, scratch them off while they're sitting in their car, then take the winners back inside, and basically they keep doubling down until they lose all their money.
Sounds pretty sad.
Yeah, it's sad. There's an entire culture. I remember there was a guy that when I worked with a long time ago. He was a smoker, and he would go outside, and there was a gas station nearby, and he would see a guy that would just go through the dumpster and basically double check all the lottery cards or all the scratch off cards, and then he would tear them in half, if they were bad. But he said he would do that like every day, and he would end up finding $20, $50 worth of lottery cards that somebody had thought that they had lost, but they really had won. So that's a sad story.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for bringing it down.
Sorry, man. So getting back to Dungeons and Dragons, were you done, man? Was there
I,
I'll tell you what. Let's bring this back home. I mean,
it's possible to make it incredibly nerdy with Dungeons and Dragons. You have to be very. I mean,
how many people do you need to play?
You could probably get away with playing with as few as 4 people, like somewhere between 4 and 6, I would think.
So you're a family of 4 now. Does that mean that you are very much looking forward to the day when you can sit everybody down around the table and you guys can play?
I can say the odds of my wife doing anything involving swords or dwarves or elves is practically nothing. But I would love to play, if my kids were interested. I don't have much Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I got this other more obscure game that I like to play with friends because that was the one they were into, and I think the system's kind of neat.
What's it called?
The one I played was Legend of the Five Rings. It's kind of a samurai and kind of samurais.
What is this? Is this like a numbers game? I mean, do you sit down and it's kind of like, I have this strong armor or this strong sword, so I beat you? Or is it literally like really a role playing game, and you get into it like you are that samurai?
A lot of the game doesn't involve combat. I mean, you don't just sit there and roll dice and beat things up. Usually, there's a story, and you're kind of progressing through the story. And then, oh crap! Here's ninja bandits that are jumping out from behind that hill. Then you start to roll for hitting things, for doing damage, and the game master gets to do kind of the description of what's going on as a result of those rolls.
But what I'm saying is, like, do the players really get into like the fantasy aspects? Like, does it do people yell and scream, and do they act out stuff, and not act out, but like, do they maybe talk with an accent while they're playing, or do stuff like that?
It depends. I mean, if people are that into it, that's going to be probably more on the nerdy side. It could be argued where people actually start acting all the characters and having accents. You can simply describe what's going on, and most people kind of just fall somewhere in the middle with their game. It's whatever is acceptable at that game.
Wow. Well, it was very interesting. So, do you think that you will eventually play it with your kids?
I would like to if they're interested, and if my wife.
You're not going to force it on them?
No, I'm not going to. You can't really force that kind of thing on people. I mean, I really do think that a lot of people, if they actually play it, if they're into games, then there's a lot of charm to it. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Well, and it's like I told you, I played that Dominion game when we were in Nicaragua. I played that, and just basically because we were trapped and there was nothing else to do, and it was okay. I thought that was role playing. I thought that that was pretty involved, and there was stuff going on, and you were collecting stuff so you could buy stuff and you could make stuff and that type of thing. Yeah. I thought that was a role playing game. I thought that was pretty involved. So I'm surprised to find out that. Well, I guess I'm not too surprised but still that Dungeons and Dragons is way more involved. But yeah, you recommend it.
It's a good time if you can get a good group together. I mean, if you're hanging out with a bunch of people who are clearly far nerdier than you are in terms of what you want to do with this game, then it's not going to be a good fit. You can't really play it with a bunch of people you wouldn't like anyway.
Do you ever play with anybody and they get angry?
No. I mean, if that's happening, you don't want people to take it too seriously.
That's what I'd be concerned about. I'd probably be around somebody that was taking it a little too seriously, and I could never ever possibly ever take that seriously. So I'd be very upset that people were taking it seriously.
And it's always possible to just play a character that doesn't take things quite as seriously. I mean, I always had a good time playing the big brute who liked to smash things. It can lead itself to a lot of fun, I think, because the first reaction to any problem is to try to smash it.
Nice.
And it's easy to cause.
Basically the Hulk.
Kinda, except not as invincible.
All right, man. Well, I that's all I had. I don't know if you had anything else. That's I don't have anything else. I'm exhausted, so I'm gonna go lay down.
It's a cool it's a cool thing to play with kids if they're into it. I mean, I know some people who are into games a lot more than I am, and they were really excited about teaching their kids how to play. And it does kind of get the creative thinking going, and
Is a card game maybe like a good way to kind of ease a kid into that?
There's not really any easing. A card game's just totally different.
Oh, okay.
Card
So then
games
how do you ease a kid into this, or are you saying there is no way you just dive in? Do they make like Dungeons and Dragons for kids?
I don't think they make it specifically for kids, but you can kind of, as a game master, you can make the game to suit your audience. There's more advanced rules out there where you can make it as simple or as difficult as you want to make it.
Do you maybe get the kids to dress up? Maybe you do dress up and go outside to do this one.
Have fun with that.
Oh man! All right, well, that's all. I want to go ahead and wrap it up. I don't really have anything else to talk about.
Let's wrap it up.
Thanks for Eric. Thanks for telling everybody, and thanks for enlightening me about Dungeons and Dragons and role playing games in general. That was good information. If you guys want to send us an email, it's podcast@howtoraiseenawesomekid.com. The website, of course, is howtoraiseenawesomekid.com. And I am Justin, and thanks for talking here.
Yep. See you later.